You don't sign it with a pen. You don't need paper, and no one asks you to. But every night, when you lie in bed, pick up your phone and scroll just to numb the noise. You're signing a contract, a quiet, invisible contract. No fine print, no pen. Just one agreement. Tomorrow will echo today. And the truth is, you've signed that contract hundreds of times. One more scroll, one more night, one more silent agreement to stay the same. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right time. I just need to fix one more thing first. But deep down, you know, you've known for a while now. That ache in your chest when the screen goes dark, that's your soul checking in. It's not exhaustion. It's the echo of a life unlived, a life that's quietly slipping away while you tell yourself, soon. You don't need another reminder. You don't need more motivation. What you need is to admit the truth you've been avoiding. You're not doing what you know you should. You already know what's off. But as long as you refuse to name it, your life will keep avoiding it with you. Because once you name it, you can't look away. We rarely lie to ourselves with bold statements. We do it with whispers, with soft, almost reasonable phrases that sound responsible on the surface. I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right time. Let me just get through this week first. They seem harmless until they become a pattern, and then a habit, and eventually an identity. You don't wake up one day in a life you resent. You drift into it, one quiet excuse at a time. Let me tell you about James. 10 years ago, he dreamed of starting his own design studio. He had the skills, he had the vision. But instead of acting, he convinced himself he needed more time, more savings, more clarity. He promised himself he'd start next year. 10 years later, James was still in the same job, still tired, still restless. Only now, regret had replaced excitement, and the voice inside him, once so loud, was barely a whisper. What happened to him isn't unusual. It's ordinary, because the most dangerous lies aren't the big ones. They're the quiet ones we tell ourselves every single day until we forget they're lies at all. These micro-lies sound like self-protection, but they're slow poison. Each time you say tomorrow, you shrink your capacity for today. Each time you say not yet, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready. Even though readiness isn't a condition, it's a decision. Over time, the lie becomes your reality. And then, without realizing it, you become the person who never begins. Not because you couldn't, but because you kept telling yourself you shouldn't. Not yet. So, if you've been wondering why things haven't changed, why you still feel stuck in the same loop, it's not because change is impossible. It's because you've built a system of false safety around the life you no longer want. And now the only way forward is through the truth you've been avoiding. Change doesn't begin with motivation. It doesn't begin with inspiration. It begins with discomfort. The kind you stop running from long enough to face. That's why the method is so simple and so often ignored. You don't need a mentor. You don't need another productivity hack. You need 3 things: a notebook, a pen, and the silence of the late hours. Not just quiet. Stillness. No notifications. No noise. No more distractions to hide behind. Just you. Alone with the hardest person you'll ever interrogate. Yourself. This isn't journaling. This isn't some feel-good release. It's investigation. It's internal interrogation. You are both detective and suspect. And your job is to uncover the truth, without filters, without pity, without spin. Start with this. Number 1, what am I doing right now that's sabotaging me? Not what I hope to do, what I actually do. Day in, day out. Number 2, what am I avoiding? Not afraid of, avoiding. What truth do I already know, but keep dodging? And number 3, what am I secretly hoping will fix itself if I just keep waiting? Be honest, because this one reveals everything you've surrendered control over. The habits you won't confront, the relationships you let drain you, the problems you keep hoping will resolve on their own. They won't. Not unless you do something. And here's the deeper truth. It's not the pain of honesty that breaks you. It's the weight of how long you've avoided it. Avoidance feels safe, but over time, it becomes a cage. You don't feel it tighten until one day there's no room left to move. It won't trend. It won't spark dopamine, but it will hand you the mirror. But it will give you something better. Clarity. And clarity is the beginning of freedom. Once you tell the truth, without sugarcoating, you stop being a prisoner of your own story. You become its editor, its architect, its author. Pain doesn't destroy people. Avoidance does. Your power has been hiding where you're most afraid to look. Go there. Your life is architecture. Every wall built is a belief reinforced. But are you designing the blueprint? Or just living inside someone else's plan? Or are you just showing up, delivering lines from someone else's script? Most people live like actors. They follow the cues. They hit their marks. They say what's expected. And they wait for applause that never comes. But here's what no one tells you. You were never meant to be a supporting role in your own life. You are the screenwriter, the director, the lead. And yet, if you don't claim that role, someone else will cast you in theirs. Society will. Your family will. The culture will hand you a script labeled safe, normal, realistic. And you'll follow it because it's familiar. But familiarity is not freedom, and obedience is not authorship. Tarantino didn't wait for permission. He wrote before he was qualified, before he was invited. But here's the difference between actors and authors. Actors wait for scripts. Authors write them. And Tarantino? He didn't wait. He didn't have a degree. He didn't have connections. What he had was obsession. And the courage to write something loud, raw, and completely his. Same with Jordan Peele. No one expected a comedian to direct culture-shifting films, but he did. Because he brought a story the world hadn't seen and couldn't forget. These aren't just directors. They're insurgents, proof that creation doesn't wait for credentials. Your story is yours to claim, if you're bold enough to take the pen. Because when you start writing without apology, you stop performing. You start creating. So ask yourself, are you acting out a role you never chose? Are you waiting for a better script to arrive? Because it won't. And even if it did, you'd still be the one responsible for bringing it to life. The pen is already in your hand. The page is already open. What you write next, that's up to you. Every story has a cutting room, a place where scenes are reviewed, rewritten, removed. Your life is no different. And that space, the editing room of your existence, is the night. Not just because it's quiet, but because at night the world stops interrupting you. There are no emails, no conversations, no expectations. It's in this silence when distractions fall away. that you're finally forced to sit with what remains you. And that terrifies most people, not because they hate silence, but because they've spent years building lives so loud, they no longer know who's underneath the noise. Let's talk science for a moment. We're living in an era of dopamine fatigue. Every ping, scroll, like and swipe floods your brain with artificial stimulation. Your nervous system is constantly bombarded, so when things go quiet, your brain panics. Silence feels empty. But it's not. It's just unfamiliar. Because when dopamine levels drop, you're no longer distracted. And when you're no longer distracted, the truth starts to surface. That creeping sense of misalignment you feel before sleep, that knot in your chest. It's not stress. It's your soul knocking, asking if you still remember its name. It's not a glitch. It's a message. And silence is the delivery system. The ancients understood this long before neuroscience caught up. Across traditions, Stoicism, Vedanta, Taoism, silence was never just absence, it was presence. Stillness wasn't passivity, it was initiation. As one mystic put it, stillness is the altar of transformation. You don't transform in motion, you don't evolve mid-scroll, you change when everything else falls away. And the only voice left is your own. So tonight, don't fear the quiet. Step into it. Let it strip away the false identities, the background noise, the external narratives. Because in that space, unfiltered and alone, you won't just hear your truth. You'll remember who you were before the world told you who to be. But remember this. Rewriting your story doesn't always mean adding more. Sometimes it starts with cutting what no longer belongs in the frame. A good director knows when to delete the scene. Everyone wants to add more habits, more goals, more tools for change, but no one wants to cut. And that's the mistake. Before you can build anything better, you have to dismantle what's already broken. Any good director knows this. Before you shoot a new scene, you edit the footage that isn't working, not because it's evil, but because it no longer serves the story. Your life is no different. Before you add, you cut. So what needs to go? Let's start with the most corrosive loops. The ones that run in the background, draining you quietly. First, the relationship you're afraid to lose. So you shrink yourself just to keep it. You bend your values. You betray your own rhythm. You give everything and get emptier by the day. That's not love. That's a transaction where the price is your soul. Second, the unconscious habits killing your body. The late-night binges, the skipped meals, the constant exhaustion you normalize. You think your body will keep forgiving you, but the debt is accruing, and one day, it will collect. Third, the identity loop of the victim. You tell yourself, this always happens to me. Nothing ever works out. But here's the twist. You're not describing reality. You're scripting it. You're rehearsing defeat every day, and you wonder why you feel stuck. These loops don't just waste time, they shape character. They become the silent directors behind your decisions, and unless you cut them, consciously, decisively, they will write a story you no longer recognize. So no, the first step isn't a morning routine. It's not a vision board or a gratitude list. It's subtraction. It's creative destruction. It's editing your life like it matters. And that takes courage, because cutting means loss, and loss means facing the truth. That you've outgrown people, patterns, and pieces of yourself that once felt permanent. But that's the price of authorship. You don't just write the story, you cut the script that's looping under the surface. rewriting your story without your consent. You don't need another voice telling you what to do. What you need is the courage to stop waiting. Let's make this clear. No one is coming. Not the mentor you're hoping for, not the partner who'll finally understand you, not the breakthrough moment, the windfall, the divine signal that says, now is the time. It's not coming, because it was never supposed to. You keep waiting for someone to knock on the door and pull you out of this place. But here's what you haven't realized yet. That door has no handle on the outside. It was only ever meant to open from within. You're not trapped. You're not forgotten. You're just standing in front of a door you already have the key to. But the key isn't comfort. It isn't clarity. It's responsibility. See, the moment you stop expecting someone else to solve it, that's the moment your story actually begins. Because if you are the problem, you are also the solution. That's not a burden. It's the most liberating truth you'll ever accept. You don't need more advice. You don't need a savior. What you need is to stop outsourcing your agency, stop acting like life is happening to you, and start realizing it's happening through you. Every delay, every excuse, every time you say not yet, you're reinforcing the idea that someone else is in charge of your fate. But they're not. No one is coming to rewrite the script. No one else can give you permission to become who you were meant to be. That's your job, and it begins the moment you stop waiting. So yes, there's no rescue team, no magic answer, no external hero on the way. And that's not something to fear. That's something to celebrate. Because it means this: you don't need to be chosen. You just need to choose. If you're still looking for a reason to act, picture this. What happens if you don't? What happens if you change absolutely nothing for the next 10 years? Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and everything is the same. Same routines, same excuses, same version of you. A week passes, then a month, then a year. Still the same. Only more tired, a little more resigned, a little less alive. Fast forward 10 years. What do you see? Play it like a montage. But not the triumphant kind, not the one with music swelling and you chasing your dreams. This is the other montage. The one no one wants to watch. The one with missed chances, recycled mornings, shallow distractions, and the quiet ache of knowing. You chose this. By not choosing differently, it won't be a dramatic fall. There won't be sirens or screams. Just the slow, numbing erosion of possibility. 1,000 small decisions you thought didn't matter. Until you look back and realize they were everything. That's the real fear. Not failure, not rejection, but reaching the end of the reel and realizing you were never even in the story. You faded into the background of your own story, watching it unfold instead of directing it. A filler scene, a stand-in for the person you could have been. If you had acted. And here's the truth. No one is coming to stop that montage. Only you can hit pause. Only you can change the scene. But it doesn't start with a 5-year plan. It doesn't require a reinvention overnight. It starts with a moment. This moment, right now. And one small act of rebellion. So here's the line in the sand. Tonight, not next week, not someday. Tonight, when the world sleeps. You write your line. When the world forgets you for a few hours, sit with yourself and write one true sentence. Just one. Not a goal, not a mantra. Not something to impress anyone. A sentence that strips the mask off. A sentence that tells the raw, unfiltered truth about who you've been and who you no longer want to be. Because sometimes, that's all it takes. You don't need a revolution. You need a moment of undeniable truth. And that starts with one honest sentence. And that one honest sentence, it might be the first real line in a story worth telling. Your story isn't finished, but it is being written, with or without your permission. Tonight, take the pen back, because a life unlived is still being written, just not by you.